Hello, everyone, and good afternoon from where I sit. I'm your host, Dr. C. I know that it has been quite some time since my last recording, and of course, there are a lot of reasons for that. There have been some significant changes in Dr. C's life. Obviously, in some of the podcasts, or shall I say, promotional podcasts that I've done. Of course, I have written several books and I am in the process of promoting them. In addition to that, I have also switched jobs. I am working for a new trucking company, a new employer. And so, yes, I have been quite busy making that transition from Schneider to Brown Trucking. That's who I work for now. Nonetheless, I have definitely felt compelled to sit down with you this afternoon and give you some insight that I think is very important. And by the way, what I am about to tell you now, and I'm going to send this video, this podcast to everybody, this recording, this audio recording to everybody I know. I absolutely, positively encourage you vehemently that you open that recording and that you watch and listen to what I am about to say. I am not asking you to follow the directions that I am about to give you, but I am asking you to strongly consider what I'm about to tell you this afternoon. Today it is July 5th, 2025. Today is my son's birthday, Chris, who is serving proudly in the United States Army. He is 23 years old today. Happy birthday, Chris. We miss you immensely, and I can't wait for you to get home. And yes, my wife and I, we did have a really nice conversation with him earlier this morning, and he seems to be doing quite well. He's well. He's enjoying his deployment in Germany. Let's just say that. He will be rotating back to the States here in about a couple of weeks, and we look forward to him. Look forward to him coming home. So let us get into the nitty gritty, if you will, of what I'm about to tell you. So yes, I'm being a little bit of I'm being a little over top in terms of what I'm about to tell you. Of course, yesterday was 4th of July. It's the birthday of this nation. And I'm here to tell you that I refuse to go out and celebrate. There wasn't really anything worth celebrating. And the reason why there wasn't anything worth celebrating is because of this man to your right. Yes, Donald Trump, who, by the way, single handedly, within a measure of 6 months, has destroyed the country. I am going to say that in the present tense. The country is now destroyed. In fact, the United States of America is nothing more than a shadow of its former self, of what it was 6 months ago to a year ago. This man to your right is the sole perpetrator of this country's demise, and I will explain what I mean. But before I get into explaining what I mean about Donald Trump destroying the country and it being a shadow of its former self, uh, trust me when I tell you this man has had plenty of help. In fact, I would even make the argument that this man right here really is not running the country. It's being run by a cabal of people who have surrounded him, gives him praise from time to time, and then they tell him what to do. And I have pointed out to all of you in our enemies of democracy who these people are. Of course, all you have to do is go back to watch some of my previous videos over the past 6 months and beyond that to find out who these people actually are. Okay, we're going to talk about all of them this afternoon. In fact, this is probably going to be the longest podcast that I'm going to do because there is so much I have to get off my chest. And I am going to leave you with some marching orders, if you will, in terms of what you probably need to do in order to protect you and your family. And make no mistake about it, you are going to need protection from this regime, this fascist regime run by this tyrannical man who is, in my opinion, right now, as we speak, is a dictator of the United States of America. The members, the citizens, the people who live here no longer have rights. Your rights have, in effect, been taken away. You just don't know it yet. But your rights have been taken away. You no longer have freedom of speech. You no longer have freedom of expression. You no longer have freedom to go and send your kids to whatever schools you want to send them to. All of that is being taken away. You just don't know it yet, but it is. And yes, aptly named, this slide is Happy Tyranny Weekend. Just in case you don't know, and of course, I know a lot of you who listen to my recordings and watch them. Thank you for that. Although the number is small, but it's okay. You know that I come from the liberal side of the political spectrum of the country, but I also come to you with truth. I don't paint the truth. I don't minimize it. I give it to you plain as day. That's what you're going to get today. That's what you've gotten in the past. And that is what you are going to get from me in the future. The truth. And the truth is, we now live in a dictatorship, a fascist dictatorship. Just to give you some historical context, which is the reason why we chose this picture of Donald Trump with his Nazi hat and his Hitler mustache and his Nazi armband, because basically that's really what he's doing. He's behaving like a member of the Nazi Party of Germany. And if you haven't paid attention to history, history has so much to teach us, which is the reason why I am a student of history. I consume history as if my life depends on it. And right now, my life does depend on it, and so does yours. During Hitler's rise to power in Germany in the late 1920s and then into the 1930s, before he seized power completely, the Nazi Party was persecuting people they did not like. Of course, the people that they hated most of all were the Jews, but they also hated people from the LGBTQ community. They hated Slavs. They hated communists. They hated people who were subscribed to democracy. They hated everyone who did not agree with them politically, and they used political violence to get their way. So let us fast forward to 2025 and let us examine what the Trump regime is doing right now. They hate people from the LGBTQ plus community. They hate Jews. They hate immigrants. By the way, Hitler hated immigrants too. They hate Democrats. They hate liberals. They hate progressives. They excuse me. They hate everyone who disagree with what they are trying to accomplish. And what, pray tell, are they trying to accomplish? I have said this in previous podcasts as well, that the Trump regime is trying to institute a white Christian ethno state. What does that mean? A white Christian ethno state. What that means is that only white people should be in positions of power in this country. White people make the decisions, and everybody else who lives here, which, by the way, if they have their way, and right now they are having their way, the only people that are going to be living in this country, if they continue down this path, are going to be white people. White people only. And Trump and his cronies and his sycophants have made it painfully clear that that is exactly what they are trying to do. And if you haven't been paying attention, if you've been living under a rock, the Supreme Court, as it stands right now, is giving him everything he wants. Yes, they are ruling against him here and there, but that is by design to make sure that you believe that things are going as normal. He's just doing normal political stuff. But that is completely untrue. The end game for the Trump regime, the cabal of people who are controlling him, and through the help of the Supreme Court, is that they are going to make sure that white people, particularly white men, remain in power to infinitum. I will say this again. These cabal of monsters around Donald Trump, who is also a monster, and helped along by the Supreme Court, who are also monsters, are trying to institute a white Christian ethno state. Like Hitler, they hate everyone who opposes them and what they are trying to accomplish. In fact, I would make the argument that Project 2025, which a lot of voters didn't believe that he was actually going to do, they all thought it was just plain political rhetoric. Well, that is, of course, not true. They are actually working this playbook, and they are about 50% through with what they want to do. I would make the argument that when it's all said and done, unless the American people awaken from their consumer behavior stupor, because that's really all we think about here, right? I need to get the biggest, baddest next thing that the oligarchy, these billionaire oligarchs, keep trying to distract us with the biggest, best thing to sell us. And by the way, we buy as if we were drunken sailors coming back from a weekend of liberty. This is where we are right now. And I would like to share with you, since I've been gone, I haven't, like I said, I haven't put out a podcast in quite some time, but since I've been gone, I have made a number of observations that says that they are more than likely going to accomplish what they set out to do. They are going to, and I don't see anybody stopping them. And the reason why I don't see anybody stopping them is because this is a white person's problem. They are, in effect, are the ones who put this man into power. And they are also the ones that are going to have to be the ones to take him out of power. And I simply do not see it happening. And the reason why I don't see it happening is because at a subconscious level, white folks agree with the white Christian ethno state. Yes, I know that that is an indictment. Yes, it is. But I have yet to see anybody prove me wrong. And because of that, this country is on its way to becoming a white Christian ethno state. It's already happening. Here in the state of Georgia, where I live right now, the Georgia legislature have come up with all kinds of changes to the law, and they are on the same lines of what they want with their white Christian ethno state. For those of you who like to watch porn or get into it, you probably have found out that you can't get porn in Georgia today. Not that that's a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. I mean, you just need to get out there and build relationships with the people of the opposite sex. But yes, porn is illegal in Georgia today. Or they've made it so difficult to get access to porn that it's basically illegal. And that's not just Georgia. They're doing it all over the country, especially in red states. As far as I'm concerned, Georgia's still a red state. Yes, we have two Democratic senators, but I don't think that's going to be for too much longer. Unless people who still have a conscience and have a sense of morality to guide them wake up and start to do something about it. But I digress. I don't see that happening. I want to be proven wrong. Please, please, please prove me wrong. In addition, I think that it's also worth noting that the white ruling class in America have done an extremely good job of making sure that minorities in this country do not support each other against this tyranny. And why do I say that? Of course, the evidence that I'm about to give you is all anecdotal, of course, but this anecdotal evidence is all around us. Just last weekend, when I was on my way home for having a long trip up into the upper Northwest in Wisconsin, Illinois, etc., those places up there, very lovely, great trip. I loved it. But I got into the weekend. I was eager to get home, and I was leaving the yard, and I pulled out and almost got hit in my car by another driver who happened to be a Latino male. Okay. And something that he said to me, by the way, he almost hit me. I wasn't the one in the wrong here. I was already in the lane about to make my turn, and he almost hit me. Well, he cursed me out and called me, and I quote, a dumbass nigga. this Latino man called me a dumbass nigga, Dr. C. And he said it with such passion. I have to give it to him. Boy, was he passionate and calling me out of my name. In addition, I would like to add, and of course, this was from my recent trip to Arkansas and in Missouri, right in the heart of Trump country. Yes, in the heart of Trump country. I had recently, this was, I think, just 2 days ago, had stopped outside of Springfield, Missouri, to get myself some lunch at the Love's truck stop. Okay, and I ordered my lunch. This was from McDonald's, and I was waiting for my order to come up, and I was just sitting there, and I was just observing the people around me, just observing the people around. In my observation, at this particular time, I happened to be the only African American man in the McDonald's at the time. Most everybody else was there that were white. There wasn't any Latinos or Asians. And by the way, I will state this at the outset that when it comes to the trucking community, it is hugely diverse. There are drivers of all ethnic groups and types all over the place, keeping America moving with commerce. Okay. But at this particular time in the McDonald's, I was the only black face in the sea of white faces waiting for my food. And of course, at this particular time in the McDonald's, they had Fox News on. And of course, Fox News, if you haven't figured it out by now, is nothing more than a propaganda channel for the Trump regime and them communicating their wishes and their efforts to institute this white Christian ethno state that I keep talking about. And so the story that came on is that the announcers on Fox News were talking about the political earthquake that had happened in New York City, where Zohar, and forgive me, I am still working on this gentleman's name, Zohran Mamdani, who had won the Democratic nomination to be the head candidate to become the mayor of New York City. And of course, Mr. Mamdani is subscribed, he has said this himself, is a democratic socialist. Now, I have to, before I get on with the story, I have to alert all of you or teach you a democratic socialist is not bad. In fact, a lot of our democratic leaders in history, particularly FDR, that's Franklin Delano Roosevelt, was a democratic socialist himself. And what that means is that democratic socialists, want to make sure that they use social programs like Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, unemployment benefits, SNAP, and all these various other social programs to look after the citizens of this country to make sure that they don't fall into abject poverty. Mamdani is of that same cloth. That's what it means to be a democratic socialist. I would also like to say that the majority of countries in Europe are also democratic socialist governments. In other words, they look after the citizens when capitalism does not. And that is what we are talking about here. But that is not what got the people in McDonald's all riled up. They didn't care, at least at that particular time, did not care that he was a democratic socialist. The only thing they cared about was that he was a Muslim. While I was waiting for my food, I could hear the whispers of two young white families. These are the mothers and their young children, whispering at each other, saying, I cannot believe that New York City nominated a Muslim to be mayor of New York. How could they? They were aghast in fear and in hatred, being funneled by Fox News to the very veins of hate and disdain of the other. In fact, I would go on the record to say, as these women were talking about this, I was looking right at them. They saw me looking at them, and they did not care. They didn't care. Of course, this incident made me very uncomfortable when I went up to the McDonald's counter and says, all right, well, y'all need to help me give me my food so I can get on the road and get out of here. Now, of course, these two incidences are anecdotal, but they speak to something that's bigger. Number one, the bigger thing, coming back to this Latino man who almost hit me with his car, who ends up calling me a dumb nigga, is the first of something that's bigger. The white political establishment and these white billionaires, these very wealthy men, and in some cases women, have gone out of their way to make sure that minorities in this country, and I would make the argument that they did this all over the globe, to make sure that minorities were at each other's throats so that we wouldn't be at theirs. And the fact that this Latino man calls me a dumb nigga is a manifestation of that kind of strategy. Also, the other point that I'm making about these women with these young children who are being indoctrinated with their own hate, is also part of the wealthy and powerful in this country to make sure that everyday Americans are not attacking them, but are attacking each other. Where middle class and poor whites are attacking middle class and poor blacks, where middle class and poor Latinos are attacking middle class and poor blacks, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You get the point. You get the message, right? That is the strategy to get us to focus our heat, excuse me, because it is like heat, right? Our hate on each other rather than focusing that hate on them. By the way, they've been doing this for millennia. I would make the argument that the white political and wealthy establishment around the globe have been following this playbook amongst minorities or people of color across the globe. They've done it in Africa, they did it in South Asia, they did it in Asia, they did it in Central and South America, and they're doing it here. And I am going to tell you what's happening. They are winning. They are winning. Frankly, I am somewhat pessimistic that this country is ever going to change course. And the reason why I say so is because I want to harken back to the golden age of democracy back in 2008 when Barack Obama was elected president, and then elected president again in 2012. if you look at that through a historical lens, at the end of the Civil War, there were more Black folks all over the South getting elected into positions of power in state legislatures and city politics, and yes, also in Congress in record numbers. And they were making a difference. They were making a difference because they were protected by the federal government at the time. After the disastrous presidency of I think it's Johnson, who was Lincoln's vice president. Um, guess what? Uh, shoot, what's his name? Ulysses S. Grant was elected president, and he went out of his way to make sure that he protected the people in the South with the federal government and federal troops. And then, of course, him being the lone voice in the wilderness, these Dixiecrats that they called themselves later in our history, but these Democrats, these white supremacist Democrats, got their way to get the troops removed from the South, and thus getting rid of Reconstruction. And of course, when we talk about Reconstruction, we are talking about remaking the country to becoming a more perfect union. Of course, we were working towards that. We have never gotten there. And yes, today we have not gotten there. Even when Barack Obama was president, we still was not a more perfect union. And the reason why we will never become a more perfect union is because this country refuses to stamp out hate where it lies. And the reason why is because the voices of hate usually are also the same voices that have all the money. So yes, I am somewhat pessimistic in terms of this country ever becoming a more perfect union. There is going to have to be another civil war, more deadly than the ones that happened in the 1860s, in order for that more perfect union to happen. And it's not going to, because we have too many people in the positions of power and in wealth that are not going to sign off on such an event. The American people have the numbers, but they do not have the will. Of course, this is my opinion. I want to be proven wrong. Oh my God, dear God, somebody prove me wrong. So far, I haven't seen it. Which leads me to my remedies for you in terms of what you can do based on my assessment of where the country is going. And the people I'm talking to are people of color. I'm talking to minorities who live here in the country, those who are here legally, if you're in the immigrant community. Of course, you already know that you are under assault. Those of you who have become U.S. citizens, you have become naturalized U.S. citizens. And if you are part of a minority community, I'm speaking to you as well. And yes, last but certainly not least, my group that I belong to, African Americans. And Africans and Caribbean Black folks who have come over to these shores looking for a better life for themselves. I'm speaking to all of you as well. And I'm going to tell you this. Again, I have to keep saying this. This is my opinion, okay? It's my opinion, but my opinion is based in research and some factual evidence that I've been able to glean for myself to come up with this podcast. I think it is time that people of color in this country start looking for a new homeland. Somewhere where you can go where you feel accepted, admired, and loved. God only knows it's not here. And the reason why I'm mentioning this and the reason why I'm saying this is because guess what? Dr. C is actively, starting now, going to be looking for residency elsewhere. I'm going to take my professional life and what I have to offer to any economy. I'm going to offer that to somebody else. I'm not going to do it here. Yes, I'm selling books, I'm writing books, and I really enjoy that. But I think it's time that I probably take up shop doing that and driving or teaching, whatever it is I want to be able to do. And where I will be given the opportunity, I'm going to do it somewhere else. It's not going to be here. And the reason why I have come to that conclusion is because the United States of America is in decline. Their light is going out. Their power is gone. The United States of America no longer has any kind of soft power across the globe. They literally have no more influence on anyone. And the reason why we don't have influence on anyone is because this country has been dumb enough to elect a man who is a complete doofus, but yet at the same time is the snake oil salesman from hell. You got to give the man credit. He has convinced 27 to 33% of the country to literally worship him. Trump supporters, the ones who are hardcore, the dead enders is what I will also call them, they don't just follow this man, they worship him as if he is God himself. And if he asks them to give their lives in service to them, I believe they would actually do it. But yet again, this is 27 to 33% of the people in the country. And everybody else is too afraid of these people to do anything about it because they are crazy. Yes. These very same people, when Donald Trump did a photo op at, what is it, Alligator Alcatraz? We did a photo op down there, smiling and laughing and talking about putting people in abject misery, and he was loving it. And my wife this morning showed me a podcast where a young woman was reading some of the comments from his supporters, and these people are monsters. They are dead enders. They will do anything and everything he tells them to do. He literally is going to destroy all of their lives. I mean, they all live in these red states where Medicaid's being taken away from them. A lot of the things that they enjoy, Medicaid and Medicare and Social Security and SNAP and unemployment benefits and stuff like that, when they hit a bump in the road, he's taking that all away from them. Yeah, you know, rest of us too, but we knew this was going to happen. They did not and do not believe that he will do that to them, and he is going to do it. If he tells these people to jump off the Golden Gate Bridge to their death, I believe that they would actually do it as a show of loyalty and fealty to their God. This is where we are in our politics in America today. And I think it's time to get out. And the other reason why I think it's time to get out is because this country is about to collapse economically. The warning signs are already there. I've taught economics for about 10, 20 years. And yes, I see the signs. The dollar is plummeting by design. They want the dollar to collapse. Okay. Um, the unemployment is going up, although the job numbers from the federal government, which you cannot believe anymore because he fired all of the people who took their job seriously in reporting the statistics as they are. He fired all those people. And so now all he has is a bunch of sycophants that are going to invent numbers for him to make him look good, while at the same time that people are going to be losing jobs wholesale. They're not even going to believe their own eyes. Okay, he is going to continue to lie to them, and they are going to continue to believe him. Okay? You cannot believe anything these people tell you. You have to assume that what they are telling you is a lie, and then do your own homework, which, by the way, if you really think about it, MAGA does not do. They don't do any homework. They just believe their God and everything that he tells them. So, yes, the country is going to collapse financially. When this happens, when people start losing jobs, they're going to look for people to blame. And who in the world do you think they are going to blame but people of color? And the reason why they are going to blame people of color is because he is going to tell them to blame people of color. They are the real enemy as to the reason why you can't find work. And the other thing that I would like to share with you that really, really, really pushes the point into your very soul is this. I watched an interview of a billionaire. He was a billionaire from Australia. He was being interviewed by the press, and he was talking about the COVID pandemic and what that seminal event did to the masses on the globe that we all live on. And his thought process was that the pandemic emboldened workers to work their will against their employer masters. I mean, workers would say, I'm not going into work in an office where I could get sick and die. And then they force the employers to give them online work where they could work from home, et cetera, et cetera. And yes, workers, stood their ground as they should have. And in doing so, they found that they had some kind of power and demanded other things from their employer masters. Greater job security and greater pay, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that every worker in every country on this planet wants. All we really want as workers in this capitalistic system, right, that we all seem to cherish, I got thoughts about that too, is that we just wanted to be treated with dignity. Okay? And that's what happened during the time of COVID. We demanded dignity and we were getting it. Well, this Australian billionaire had a problem with that. He had a problem with workers getting their way anyway. He didn't like it. He didn't like it because workers were telling employers what they were going to do rather than the other way around. And this gentleman, as a remedy for that, had suggested, and by the way, this is actually true, and this is exactly what I'm seeing coming down the pike in this country. He said that employers should force workers out of work on purpose, in order to drive up the unemployment numbers to the point where they are in the high double digits. During the Great Depression, the unemployment rate was between 30 and 40%, which was pretty high. And he is suggesting that employers, the true masters, should do that again to force workers into their place i.e., where we would beg for jobs and take any pay and working conditions that they dish out. In fact, I would tell you, if you've read Project 2025, if you still don't believe it, there's no hope for you. But guess what? That is their plan for labor in this country. They are trying to destroy labor unions, and it is coming. It's coming, okay? To the point where people will be laid off, and then we are going to fight each other for jobs. And of course, as per their white Christian ethno state, only white people will get first dibs at these crappy ass jobs that they are planning to give to us by putting us in our place. If you are a person of color, you're not going to have any such luck. If you are a person of color and you own your own business, it's going to be harder for you to conduct that business as a going concern in a country that literally hates your guts. So yes, I am looking for residence somewhere else. And as luck would have it for me and my family, there was a Canadian company, a trucking company, reached out to me this past week and said, hey, I know that you were interested a couple of years ago in coming into work for us. We would love to have you come on board. And I am seriously going to take up their offer. Yes, I am. I'm going to seriously take up their offer. But there are other things that you could focus your attention on. Canada, by the way, is a really good place to work, live, and raise a family if you are a person of color. The diversity in Canada is just as rich as it is here. It's still rich here, but if these folks in the Trump regime have their way, that's not going to be the case anymore. But in Canada, it is so. The diversity is very rich. And I'm not saying that there isn't any hateful people in Canada. Probably are, but I would say that it's nothing like here. A lot of people who have moved to Canada have not come back. And I'm talking about people of color. It's like you've moved out of a prison cell called the United States of America to freedom. Freedom to be that. Freedom to be. So, yes, I am considering Canada, but there are other places to go. And I've also noticed for people of color, particularly African Americans, that they are also considering moving back to the motherland. Yes, going back to Africa. And yes, I would also tell you that the welcome mat is out for a lot of countries in Africa where they want you, an African American, to take up shop, start your businesses there, educate their students. If you're, the welcome mat is out for a lot of African countries for African Americans. Ghana is a good place to go. There are a lot of West African countries to go to, but from what I understand from my research, that the African Americans who are moving back to the motherland are going to East Africa. Excuse me, they're moving to East Africa, and most notably Kenya. I was watching a video of a young, beautiful African American woman who was thinking about buying a 400-acre tea farm. Yes, she was proud. Her video was beautiful. She was beautiful, and she was happy. Because guess what? She's not going to be rejected because of the color of her skin. Only be rejected by the content of your character, which, by the way, in this country no longer matters because the country is being run by criminals, of which Donald Trump is the ringleader. So yeah, that is my remedy for people of color. I think that you need to really consider getting the hell up out of the country. And of course, my last appeal, my very last appeal, please, somebody prove me wrong. Well-meaning, morally upright, white folks with a conscience. I need you to prove me wrong in terms of where I think the country is going. Yes, we've had protests, and they've been relatively large, but in order to affect major change from the course that we are on right now, and this is from a political scientist, in order to affect major change in terms of protests, we need 3.5% of the population out in the streets protesting this regime. We have not come even close to that yet. The last march or protest that we had, I think it was the No Kings March, was like a 1.5 to 2%. It was a lot of people out. Make no mistake about it. They were massive, but still not enough to affect any kind of change. We need 3.5% of Americans out in the street protesting this lawless regime and changing its course. I need you, my pale-skinned brothers and sisters, to prove me wrong of what I really think about this country. And as a person of color, I feel like I live in a prison. Please prove me wrong. That's my podcast for this afternoon. Of course, I know it's a relatively lengthy one, and I told you that I was going to do this, but the other thing I'm about to tell you is that more than likely this is going to be one of my last podcasts. Given the state of affairs of the United States of America, I totally do believe that the Trump regime and his sycophants and his jackbooted thugs is going to shut down dissent like you and me, dissent like the Midas Touch Network, like Kyle Kalinske, who happens to be one of my favorite guys. I love watching him. He's a fiery dude. But anybody who dissents in terms of what these people are doing, they're going to shut it all down. Trust me when I tell you. They're going to shut it all down, and they're going to make sure that everybody falls in line. And if you don't, they're going to imprison you in one of their concentration camps around the country and in other countries around the globe. That's coming. And when I say that we need real action, I'm not talking about just protests. I mean real action. And what I'm talking about, it might come down to that real action. And if you know more than what you're going to have to do more than just protest to bring down the regime, did you know what that means? Are you prepared to do it? That remains to be seen. Well, let me let you guys go. I know I've been relatively depressing, but I told you I was going to bring you the truth. And this is it. You can do whatever you want with this information. You can discard it, you can delete it, or you can share it with somebody else who you fear for their life and for yourself. Pass the word. You'll hear from Dr. C again, but it might be a while. So the only thing that I can tell you is I'll give you progress in terms of what I am going to be doing with my family. You guys have a great rest of your tyranny weekend. Stay safe, be hopeful, and remain defiant. Ciao.